Consequently, he became famous. And then he got into politics. Once again, he did not give up his reading habit. Then reading itself took him to the highest position where he could become the chief minister of the state. Dear friends, we always do not like politicians. We say all lot of accusations. We say, he's corrupt, he's doing all this scandal, he's involved in this kind of an activity that is not good for the society. We say a lot of things. But if you take the good side of every politician in Tamil Nadu or throughout the world, you take any politician of any country or any party, he or she will be a good reader. He or she will be a good reader. Because reading maketh a full man. They have understood this phrase or this quote. Now, have you understood it? This is my question. I would like to start the session with a kind of question. Have you ever understood the importance of reading skills in your life? And if you say that, sir, I don't have time to read because I get up only at 7 o'clock in the morning. I had to board the bus. I have to board the bus. I have to get ready. I eat my tiffin in the morning. My mom cooks very well. Then I got to board the bus. I have to get up at the college bus stop at 9 o'clock. I go to class. I come back only at 4 o'clock in the evening. Once again, I board up the bus. I reach home by 7 o'clock and I don't have time. And if you are going to give me an excuses of this kind, if you say that I don't have time to read, then the other sentence that's going to follow you is going to tell you, then you don't have time to lead. You can never be a good leader. You can never be a good counselor. So reading is very, very essential and important, without which, I tell you, dear friends, you can never achieve greater heights in your life. Now, what happens when you don't read books? Now, what happens when you don't read books? Nothing happens. Nothing happens to you. Nothing happens around you. Nothing happens in you. And you will remain the same person as the world advances without you. The entire world will go on. Just because you don't read books or you don't read newspapers, you don't give importance to reading skills, the world around you will not stop. It will definitely advance without you. Now, just because you don't read books, with the stop, with the world stop and then wait for you. No, let this boy come up. Let this girl come up. Let us give him some time. No, the world is going to advance you without you. This is very important. Now, dear friends, I also want to be talking about how reading is important at this moment. Seriously, I always talk to my students about the difference between engineering and arts and science students. One of the biggest privilege of studying engineering, a course is this, I would say, that they are given more of work. They are given more of work. They are asked to write tests every day. They are asked to read every day. They are asked to study every day. There is a compulsion that they have to read, study, and come to college every day. There is a compulsion. It is mandatory for them to read it every day. Now, when they come out of the college, I tell you the difference. Their capacity to sit and study, their capacity to sit and read will have definitely improved. Now, here in arts and science, this is the worst thing. Now, I'm not talking about colleges located in Chennai, but here in downstate, you come, people suffering a lot. They fumble, they fall back. They feel very difficult when it comes to job opportunities. They feel very, they will feel it very difficult to, attending interviews where reading comprehension is given. You talk about this bank examinations, dear friend. You talk about bank examinations. I want to tell you this calculation. You're going to write it for 100 marks. Okay. 50 marks, logical reasoning and aptitude. The other 50 marks is meant for, 150 marks, 100 marks for logical reasoning and aptitude. 50 marks is exclusively spent for English, where you need to score 7 out of 50. That's the cutoff. 7 out of 50, where there's negative mark when it comes to bank examination. And banks like, SBI, State Bank of India. And if you do not score 7, which is the required cutoff, even if you have scored 80 plus in aptitude and logical reasoning, you'll still be called as a failed person. You're failed. You fail. Where English is very important, in the bank examination, your reading comprehension is checked, analyzed. There's a passage, there are about some 30 or 50 questions. Time is very much limited, and you'll have to read all the questions faster. Now you understand why is it important then. You cannot start this process after you get graduated or after you complete your UG, undergraduation. No, this is the time you need to begin. This is the time you need to begin. The time has come for all of you to start taking up reading practice. Now, why? Of course, there are three levels of reading. I just want to talk about the importance. Now, how positively it can impact you people when it comes to job opportunities, when it comes to government sectors. There are three levels of reading. Some people, they read the lines and go. They just read, they go. They don't mind whether they understand it or not. Now, some people, they read between the lines, which means a specific reading. They read the entire passage word by word, line by line. They understand the gist of it. They understand the essence of the message which is given or implied in the particular passage. Then there are people who read beyond the lines. Now, this means like you need to understand the background. You'll have to take up your own knowledge, understand the background, understand the situation, in what context has it been written. And these are the three levels of reading actually. And reading is how many books you have read this year. This is a very simple question. Like, how many books, dear friends, have you written? Have you read this year? And how many of you actually read every day? How many of you read every day? It might be a newspaper or a magazine. Now, I read magazines every day. I read some meditation books every day. It's in fact in Tamil, but it's okay. I read it. I'm not just talking about the English language alone, as I told you earlier on. It can be even your local mother tongue. How many books have you read this year? You're just a beginner. You've just started your career. In fact, there's a career, in fact. Yes. Have you just started at least one book? Look at the statistics here. Take any developed nation, for example, UK. An average person, 16 books are read per year. A single person in the United Kingdom read 16 books a day. I mean, a year. Malaysians, they read nearly with an average of 8 to 11 books per year. Now, what about us? Malaysia is a country, a developed country. UK is a well-developed country. Here in India, it is actually a country which is underdeveloped or developing country. And now, dear friends, if you don't read, I tell you, you cannot discover something. Reading can always help you out to discover something. Let me talk about how this medicine anesthesia was invented. It's not discovery, it was an invention. Chloroform, right? We talk about chloroform. Then if you take the book of the Holy Bible, if you go to the book Genesis, which is the first book in fact, and after God created Adam, he wanted to create Eve also to give him a companion, a suitable companion. Okay, how reading has helped someone to invent something, I'm just telling you the story. It's not a story, it's an incident which really took place. The scientist writes it in his diary. He's written it in his diary. It is true, it is proved. So when he was reading the passage, Genesis, where he was able to read, God made Adam, he created him out of clay. Then to give him a companion, a suitable companion, he created Eve also. So when God created Eve, God made Adam to go into a deep sleep. So Adam went into a deep sleep, the operation was made. One of his rib bone was taken out of him, out of which Eve was created. And this was actually something surprising to this person. The scientist was stunned, he was astonished. He was like able to think, okay, Adam did not die, operation took place, he went into a deep sleep. Why shouldn't I invent a medicine of this kind, where Man has to go to deep sleep. He does not have to feel pain. Operation can be carried in his body. And then after some time, he can be okay, he can be healthy. This is possible, or it became possible only by reading, I would say, dear friends. This particular scientist, just because he read the Holy Scriptures, Genesis, which is the first book of the Bible, after reading it, he invented that particular, anesthesia, a drug, a chloroform, which is still useful to us, isn't it? You talk about anybody who is a patient who undergoes an operation or delivery nowadays, which are made in hospitals for each and every medication, isn't it? We are using it actually, this particular medicine. That was possible only by reading, and that's why, dear friends, I tell you, only when you read, you will be able to invent things, you will be able to discover new things, you will understand something new. That is going to speak to you, that will really inspire you. That's reading skill. And then reading is actually a purposeful one. A purpose, there is a purpose now behind every reading. When I read something, a book, which is prescribed, or a text which is prescribed to my students, I read with the purpose. There is an intention. I read it with an intention so that I can do better when I go to the class, when I deal with the students, when I deal with the text. I have to make things easy for the students to understand. There is a purpose. Now, when you read, dear friends, is there any purpose? Is there any newspapers? Is there any purpose? Why do you read newspapers every day? Why do you read blogs? Why do you read a novel? Have you ever asked this question to yourself? Why do I read it? Is there any purpose? Is there any particular intention to why you're doing it? And then this particular, you can definitely improve skills, which is actually a very much required thing nowadays. Since people don't read, they don't succeed in their life. I would say this for sure. Even for entrepreneurs, you talk about entrepreneurs. They come out with new ideas of business ideas. They come out with beautiful business ideas. How do they succeed in their life? You tell me. How do they succeed? They read a lot of interviews. They read a lot of things, success stories. They read a lot of the feedback of people, how they succeeded in their life, and there's interest, in them to begin a business. Then they start reading. They subscribe for magazines which are exclusively meant for entrepreneurs. They buy it, they read it, they spend the time on it. Then they come out with new ideas. Okay, these are the things that are already in the market. Why shouldn't I come out with a different product which is not launched in the market already? They have interest. So when you have interest, dear friend, you can actually, even if you don't have interest, you can initiate it immediately. Even after this webinar is over, I can start doing it. You can practice it. Yes. Now, every time when I actually teach my students reading comprehension, even there are teachers in this forum. Arundhati ma'am, who's the head of the department, Rajeshwari ma'am is there, and Nightingale ma'am is there, like you take Jayashanti ma'am. This is my experience actually. When in my college, when they asked me to train up the students on reading comprehension, I struggle a lot. This is my personal experience. I struggle a lot to teach reading comprehension to my students. Can it be really taught? And teachers can tell you. Can it be really taught? It cannot be done easily without the support or without the initiative from the student side. Actually, the students must have already read. The students must have already some vocabulary skill. Only then I can do something to enable them to do better when it comes to reading comprehension. That's very much required in all exams. I also trained up students for Infosys company. I trained up some B students for Infosys. There were actually questions for 30 marks, and only 30 minutes were given. 30 minutes and 30 questions. Students, they found it very hard. Only one student got to the interview, the written examination, because they didn't have enough time. Most of the students did not find enough time to read the entire passage and answer the questions. There were error spotting also. Then there were improvement of sentences also. In any sector, dear friends, nowadays you go, I tell you, without reading skill, you cannot succeed in the interview. It's very much important. It's in fact a good strategy. What are the qualities of good readers? If you are a good reader, you need to have certain qualities. And definitely, do you do all these things? Are you willing to do all these things? Yes, you can do it. You can utilize your background knowledge. And good readers are actually constructively responsive. You talk about these debates that happens in Pudhiya Thalaimurai or every other news channels nowadays. You turn on the TV at 7 o'clock in the evening. In all the televisions, you can find a debate. Do you think they come and sit in the debate without background knowledge or without reading? Now, who knows what's going to happen in the future? And some of you might even become politicians. Yes, some of you might even become orators, or you may have a desire to become an orator, or you can have a desire to become a leader. And if you have such ambitions, isn't it? It's the time that you start reading. When during a debate, you have to be constructive in your response, and some question is posted to you. You might even be a politician, or you might even be a journalist. I studied journalism for nearly 3 years because I come from visual communication. I studied Viscom. That's my undergraduation. Journalists have to widely read. There's an opportunity for everybody. Even though you are doing first year undergraduation now, you can still become a journalist. When you become a journalist, or when you want to become a journalist, this reading skill is very much required, because you have to be constructed in your response. You have to have some strategy. You need to comprehend the thing. What is implied in a particular passage? Now, some politicians, they speak, they play with words. Definitely, they play with words. You need to understand the fun that is inside, humor that is inside. So you need to be able to periodically monitor your comprehension if you call yourself to be a good reader. Then, of course, I don't want to talk about it at the end. Yes, but there are certain difficulties in reading also. Now, why we don't actually read? And some people, they are not at all interested. And some people say that, sir, the text is too long. The text is too long. I still remember when I was studying MA in English, and my head of the department, who passed away recently, his name is Dr. Mohan Kumar, he came to my class and he taught me Renaissance in India, and all my teachers, like my colleagues, Arundhati and others, would understand what I'm trying to say. He talked about Renaissance in India, written by Sri Aurobindo. There's one paragraph, it starts, and there is no full stop in between, there is only comma, and it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. And at the 10th sentence, there is one full stop. There are 7 or 8 or 9, even 10 sentences are there in one single passage. You need to understand it. So when the text is too long, we say that, sir, I'm finding it very hard to understand. I'm finding it very difficult. I'm unable to go ahead, or I lose my interest in it. This is one of the difficulty in reading. Then we talk about unknown words. When we read a passage, there are words given which you don't understand. Even with the context that is given, you don't understand. And you say, oh, I don't understand, that you stop and you give up reading. No. Then you come across sentences that are really complex. Let me give you one complex sentence. Look at it. He is no fool. It was written by, this quote given by Jim Elliot, who was an evangelist who went into African soil. He says this: he is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. At the outset, it looks very hard actually to understand. Sentences of this kind, when they are given to you and you find it very difficult and you say, no, I don't want to read, let me stop with it. But then that's why you should not stop. You need to initiate, begin, inculcate, interest in you. Practice every day, and then have a work plan every day. What are you going to read? You can have some goal, a little goal every day. You can have a goal for a week or a month. Okay, I'm going to read English for a month. Okay, What am I going to read? I'm going to read editorial every day, or I'm going to read local news, or I'm going to read sports news alone. Okay, when you read, what are you supposed to do? We'll talk about it later on. Time is up, it's flying, so I need to go a little faster. Reading is, dear friends, it is really interactive. It is really interactive. What do you mean by interaction? Talking to another person, a conversation. You know, when I read my holy scripture every day, being a Christian, I read Bible every day. When you read it, somebody is going to talk to me. Yes, I feel the Spirit of God was speaking to me. It's interactive process, because the person who has written it, in fact, is speaking to me. It is not just an one-way process. No. Now, why do we actually cry when we read stories? Why did we actually cry when we all watched JB that was released recently? Isn't it? Why do we cry? Why did we cry when we watched JB? When we watched movies, when there was no dialogue, when there was no conversation, listening to the music, listening to watching the scenes alone, acting alone, why did we cry? It's an interactive process. Likewise, like a movie, a book can also interact with you. Any book can speak to you. The characters can speak to you. Definitely, the author can speak to you. The situation can speak to you. The environment that is given in the story can actually speak to you. You can get connected. You can get connected. You know, when I was reading Selfish Giant, a story which I read recently, I mean, like very old story, in fact, written by Oscar Wilde, I actually cried. I actually cried when the giant was speaking to the person, the small little child who had scars in his palm. I actually cried. The very day the selfish giant it died, I cried once again, because the story spoke to me. Oscar Wilde spoke to me. The characters, used in the story spoke to me. So as a reader, you can never be passive. You will be really active. No, dear friends, when we read something, we are actually tempted to talk about it. When we listen something which is actually secret, we are actually tempted to share it with another person. Likewise, when you read books, when you give importance to reading every day, when you read something and come to college, I tell you, you will be really active in that particular day. You will be tempted to share what you have read. Definitely. So you construct the meaning using your knowledge of the language of the world, and you can continue to predict and assess. You understand? So this is actually an interactive process. Just once again. Let us talk about now, just once again. Let us talk about the skimming and scanning, and then let us move on to the pronunciation part of the English language. I mean, like how come it can help you out when it comes to reading skills. Madam, you can tell me when I have to stop. Rajeshwari, ma'am?
So you can proceed, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. You can just tell me when I have to stop. Yeah, because I'm just going on.
Okay.
So when it comes to reading, two important skills that have to be learned. Be a student or a scholar or a teacher, two skills have to be learned by you and me, for sure. Number one, skimming. Let us talk about it later on, skimming. Second one is scanning. Now you go to a computer center where things are scanned, isn't it? Where things are scanned, your certificates are scanned. Let us first talk about skimming. Skimming is nothing but if you want to have an overall understanding, of the text, then you skim it. You can read the contents, you can read some important, stuff and go on. You can read some relevant sections which are applicable to you. Then you can go ahead. You can just read headings and go. Okay, you can just read at least the letters that are in bold, passages that are in bold. That is skimming, running your eye very quickly over large numbers. There's a book which is about some 550 pages or 600 pages or nearly some 300 pages. You cannot just read each and every and go. This particular skill is very much required for reading comprehension, particularly when it comes to back examination. There is one big passage given, a passage for you people to comprehend and answer the questions that are given below. You cannot just read each word, each line, and then understand between the line, and then go and answer. The time is up, over. No, you cannot do that. You cannot spend more time on one particular passage, because you'll have to attend all the other questions that are given in the question paper. In such a situation, dear friends, this skimming skill is very much important. This skimming skill can be of great use to you. You can understand it, read all the important stuff. Even if you don't understand certain words, no problem. Understand the contextual meaning, just have a read, start answering the questions. And that's why, dear friends, many people get selected in even UPSC examinations, and we'll talk about even group 1 examinations where reading comprehensions are given large. You take HCL, you take Wipro, you take Microsoft, you take any MNC companies nowadays, they check your level of understanding. They give you only a very minimum of time, maybe a few minutes of time, within which are you able to read and understand, answer the questions. This process cannot start after you get graduated, as I told you earlier on. It has to start immediately. It has to start immediately. This is a practice which is very much required. If you don't read it all every day, and I tell you, friends, you will be doomed, and the world will advance without you, as I told you earlier on. Now let us talk about scanning. I know this is actually reading a passage for specific pieces of information. Specific pieces of information. You want to have an overall understanding, just skim and go. If you want to understand a particular passage, a particular character, a particular incident, a particular stuff, then you can go for scanning. Sweeping your eye over a part of a text to find a specific pieces of information, isn't it? You can locate information from a large quantity of written material, isn't it? And that's how I read it. I scan and go on. Seriously, you can actually slow down to read the relevant section more thoroughly. So if you find some important word, if you want to read just the climax alone, you can go to the last page, start reading it, understand it, and then close the book and go. So this is for scanning. Now, dear friends, I would also want to be talking about how you can read effectively, because there is only just another 10 minutes of time. I would just want to be talking about how words can be pronounced properly when you read. These 3 rules, important rules that are universally followed. What are they? Kiss your W's, roll your R's, and bite your B's. Look at the first one. What do you mean by the word? Letter W. People say W. It's not W, just W. W. Single U plus single U become W. Rendu U. Single U plus single U become W. So whenever you find, dear friends, the alphabet W, you'll have to kiss your W. So what do you mean by that? When I say, for example, W-A-Y, W-A-Y, I say, wait, look at my mouth. Look at my face, everyone. I say, wait. What happens? Both the lips are coming together. Isn't it? Both the lips are coming together and they touch. Even if they don't have to touch, no problem. But you're going to, you're going to group your lips together. And you're going to put your lips together like you're going to kiss a baby. Both the lips are coming together. You say way, don't say way. When you say way, the word is not properly read, or the word is not properly pronounced. Even the very word, not pronunciation, it is pronunciation. So when you read it, dear friends, especially when you find the alphabet W, wherever you find it, no problem. Your lips are going to come together and you say, where, what? But there are certain exceptions, like when you say W, H-O. It is not H, it is H-W-H-O. You don't have to say who, it is who. It's not a who, you don't have to put lips again. There are certain exceptions, as I told you earlier on. So every time when you find the alphabet W in a word, dear friends, I tell you, you'll have to put your lips together and you say wave. So it comes together. Secondly, you find the alphabet R. You can actually roll your R's. Actually, look at the tongue, it goes up, it touches the upper ridge, isn't it? The hard palate. I say R. Okay, I say R. I don't say R. When I say R, the tongue is straight, the tongue is flat, and you'll have to roll your R's when you read it. When I say P-A-R-T, as G-I-R-L, people read girl. You can read girl with the proper pronunciation. Now, when you do that, dear friends, when you inculcate this practice, when you start this practice, even today, I tell you, more number of job opportunities are waiting at your door. Then thirdly, you find another important rule, which is bite your wings. Now, this is why we don't properly read actually. When I say lovable, the upper teeth, dear friends, touches the lower lip. The upper teeth touches the lower lip. I say love. You don't have to bite your lips. It will bleed least otherwise. Okay, so you don't have to do it. I cannot be held responsible for it. You can actually, there can be a soft touch on your lower lip by your upper teeth. You can say love, lovable, lovely. You don't have to say lovely. Some people say lovely. When you read like this, because you mispronounce all this, when you do not read properly, you can use, you can take the help of these important tools. They are universally followed. How do people read news channels, dear friends? How do people read? They read with proper pronunciation. If not in the American accent or the British accent or the Australian accent, at least a neutral accent can be followed. But for that, your reading is very important. Your reading starts from here. Your reading starts from here. Kiss your W's, roll your R's, and bite your V's. And secondly, dear friends, these three are very important, I would say. T, D, and ID. T, D, and ID. Just 1 second. T, D, and ID. Look at the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verbs. All ED ending words or verbs. ED ending words. P-I-C-K-E-D, H-O-P-E-D, R-A-C-E-D, W-A-T-C-H-E-D, and W-A-S-H-E-D. Some people read picked it, or they say hoped it, or they say raised it, watched it, washed it. This is not the way it should be read. Any ED ending verb, dear friends, will end up only with these three, pronunciation. T, it would either be T or D or ID. When you say T and D, dear friend, your tongue has got to be flat. Don't say target. Don't say path. When you say T, what happens? You can just say to yourself, you can say T. What happens when you say T? Your tongue goes up, it touches the upper hard palate. Why? That's wrong. That's not how this particular verb has to be read. You can say picked. When you say picked, the tongue is straight, it is flat. You can say hoped, you can say raised, you can say watched, and you can say washed. Not eating, picked. Look at the second one. You can actually place your four fingers, these four fingers, as you can see in the video of mine. Place it here on your Adam's apple. This is Adam's apple, okay? And neck, and this Adam's apple, and you say D. When you say D, when the tongue is flat, dear friend, what happens? There is some vibration. Only if you find, or only if you feel some vibration in your vocal cords, you're reading the letter properly. I'm not just talking about pronunciation. I'm just talking about reading. It's bobbed. The tongue is flat or it is straight. You can say begged, breathed, loved. Even though all these four, verbs end up with ed, only you find or you hear the d sound, not the d sound. When say d, once again, doctor, we say doctor. Dear friend, you will find it very easy then. When you start this practice, even today, this afternoon, once the program is over, when you start doing it, I tell you, you can easily clear IELTS, International English Language Testing System. I know a few of my friends who are actually my church mates, they have gone to England recently. They all completed Master of Social Work. They got a job, but before they, what's happened? What happened now? Can you go ahead?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you can.
Yeah. Thank you. See, you can get through the examination, TOEFL or testing of English as foreign language, or you can get through International English Language Testing System. Both the examinations are, like gates. You cannot go to another foreign country without this. Okay, if you find a low profile job, okay, that's no problem. You don't have to write this test. But then if you want to have a plum job, it can be even an IT industry, or you can even work in a non-governmental organization, which is NGO. Few of my churchmates, they've gone to England recently. They are working, but all they had to do is to get through in TOEFL or IELTS. They did it. They were very good in their reading skills. They read the words properly. They read the letters properly. Okay, so D once again. Now ED sound, dear friends, ED sound. Okay, I will take another 5 minutes and finish the talk. Don't worry. Here you once again find ED ending verbs. Okay, people say started, collected, sparted. No, started. ID. There's only ID at the end. So when you read, dear friends, a passage, you will definitely come across, if you find a passage which is about some even 10 or 15 lines, definitely you will read at least some 12 or 13 or 15 verbs. No sentence is framed without a verb. If you find a verb with ed ending, what are you supposed to do? Then you are to be remembered by what I actually taught you at present. You have to be remembering it. Okay, this is how I learned it. So I'm going to read this particular verb properly. I'm going to read this word properly. I'm going to read started, collected, spotted, inspected, wanted, descended. Not wanted, wanted, isn't it? So this is actually the proper way of reading this particular, not pronouncing this. No, let it be different. Okay, I'm not here to teach you phonetics. No, I'm just teaching you how to read verbs, read words. Then here you see, I have a paper with me actually. It's another important rule, plosive consonants. Okay, I have actually a paper with me, and every time, dear friend, when you find the alphabet P, okay, you can have a paper with you. You can take one paper with you, and then you can say her. And this is called a plosive. Let me tell you, you might be from another domain. You might be from computer science or commerce or BBA or any other department. You may not be from English. But then, you can learn this. You can take one piece of paper of this kind. What can you do? You can say per. When you say per, the paper should move forward. If the paper does not move forward, your reading of this particular word is not correct. You're wrong, because it is a plosive sound. What do you mean by plosive sound? The amount of air comes out, it touches the paper, and the paper moves forward. I say paint, I say pancake, I say paper, I say party. This is proper, actually. This is the perfect way of reading an alphabet. I mean, a letter that starts with the alphabet P. It can be any word. It can be any word. If the word starts with the alphabet P, Then it is a plosive sound. I tell you, dear friends, you can experiment it with the help of a paper. You can just say pain, you can say per. The paper should move forward. If it does not move forward, then you will have to take the practice once again. You can get the help of your teachers also. Now we have come to a very important skill, reading skill now. An important rule, dear friends. Now look at these 4 sentences. Look at these 4 sentences. I want your help. Get your bag and go home. They want you to be silent. We want you to get the award. Now, in these 4, sentences, you find T and you. Look at the first sentence. Listen to me very carefully. Listen to me very carefully. I want. Okay, look at what is the last alphabet of the word want? T. What is the first word, a letter of the word your? You. So T here, which is the last alphabet. Y is the first alphabet or the letter comes together. Then it makes the sound itch. Don't say I want your help. What are you supposed to say? I want your help. I want it. There's an it sound always. So dear friends, you will come across umpteen number of sentences when you read a passage or a text. Umpteen number of sentences. So when you read it, whenever you find T as the last letter and you as the first letter of the word, when they come together, what are you supposed to say? It sound. I want your help. Get your bag and go home. They want you to be silent. We want you to get the award. We want you to get the award. We will say, we want you to get the award. They want you to be silent. Get your bag and go home. And that's not the way, dear friends. No, reading has to happen. Look at the English newsreaders. How do they read it? How do they read it? They read it with all perfection. These are all simple rules, dear friend. You can just start doing it once the webinar is over. And then we have come to the last important rule, not the least. Look at this. D plus Y becomes J. Look at the first one. What? There is, okay, I say could. Okay, no problem. What did you do? In the word did, look at the last alphabet, letter D. What is the first alphabet or the letter? U, Y. So D plus Y become J sound. We would say, what did you do? Where did you go? How did you do? No, that's not the way it has to be read. What did you do? Would you help me? It is not, would you help me? When you say, would you help me? The tongue goes up, it touches the hard palate of your mouth. Upper hard palate of your mouth. No, that's wrong. Would you? Never say, would you? Always say, would you? Yeah, dear friends, I just taught you some basic, important, reading skills. We've talked about the importance of reading skills. What would happen if you don't read? We learned. Okay, even when you read a passage, what are you supposed to read? I taught you some basic pronunciation skills. It's all reading skills, in fact, included in reading skills, in fact. How reading can actually help you out when it comes to job opportunities. It can be the private sector or government sector. Dear friends, if you don't read at all, now you'll be really doomed. That's what Madam Arundhati ma'am, she kept telling me, sir, our students, they have to be exposed to reading. They're going to start a reading club, and that's what she told me when she was speaking to me about the appointment that we have made it today. There's going to be a reading club. There's going to be a lot of books, magazines, stories, storybooks, whatever. You can read even newspapers every day. I was talking to a person who actually got his employment in government sector recently. He cleared his railway examination. He told me about it. He has to read editorials every day. There are questions in railway examinations, okay, grade 1 examinations, where your reading skills are checked. They're given more of passages. You're asked to write passages. As I told you earlier on, all these 4 important skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Skills are interrelated. Only if you listen, you can speak. Only if you read, you can write. You can become a content writer. Now, if you want to become a content writer, there is a job, there are opportunities in Zoho. There's a company called Zoho, which is located in Chennai and Tenkasi. Content writers. You can go to Cognizant. You can go to any other company where they ask for content writers. If you want to become a content writer, you should be able to write properly. And if you want to write properly, then you have to concentrate on reading skill. You should not only read vocabulary, you should not only read the context, understand the meaning, you should also know how to read it properly with the proper pronunciation, with all perfection. So dear friends, I think, with the kind of limited time I've been given, or I'm given, I think I've done justice to know what I'm asked to do. I think, hope you guys would have found this, lecture useful to all of you. So I thank you all for listening to me and giving me your undivided attention. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful presentation. I hope you all enjoyed this amazing session. Let's move on to the question and answer session, sir. As a reminder, participants can still post your questions in chat box. I would like to invite Ms. Sangeeta ma'am to take up the question and answer session.
I now invite our esteemed resource person to answer the questions raised by our participants. I also request the faculty members and students to post your questions in the chat box or in the question and answer box. Participants watching the webinar on YouTube can also key in their questions in the chat box. So we have the first question. What do you prefer, sir, skimming or scanning?
Both are required, I would say. Both are required. Because if you want to, if there is a big one, there is a book which consists about some 500 pages. You have some limited time also. And if you have to read a book which is about some 500 pages, and you are just given just only one day, I don't think you can read the entire book. And at that time, what you can do to have an overall understanding of the book, you can read, you can have skimming, you can read and then go on. You can have the overall understanding of it. But then if you are given, for example, if you take bank examination, you are given a passage, you need to understand the specific information. If you look for some specific information, what is needed, then you can go for scanning. But both are required for everybody.
Thank you,
sir. It depends upon the requirement. It depends upon the requirement to which you are preparing for.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The next question is from Archana. She has asked you for book recommendations, sir. They've asked you for book recommendations.
Book recommendation. Okay, book. Yeah. Okay. More than book, dear friend. Since I've been in the news industry, I've worked for Indian Express, and I was a trainee reporter for some time. You can start reading Hindu newspaper. You can go for letters to the editor. Or you can read only the local news alone, where you can take down, you can take notes, you can note down all the important vocabularies that are used. Let me ask you a very simple word in Tamil. Thikuli. Avan thikulichitan, adin solran. We say avan thikulichitan. Now, how do you actually translate the particular word? Thikulichitan.
Sir, I would say self-immolation.
Yes, ma'am. Self-immolation. Is it a student actually? Are you a student?
No, sir. I am Evangeline Nightingale.
Okay. I expected the students to answer me actually. But anyway, it's okay. It's okay. Even now, see, now in Chennai it is raining. It has been raining for nearly 4 days, I believe. Okay. It has to be told in present perfect continuous tense. It has been raining. Mala vittu vittu peyudu. We say that in Tamil. We say that in Tamil. How do you translate it into English? Mala vittu vittu peyudu. I hope most of you are from Tamil Nadu, or from Chennai, or from nearby places. Mala vittu vittu peyudu. We skip and go because since we do not know the vocabulary for the particular word, it is intermediate actually, intermittent way to learn because I learned all this only through newspapers. So I suggest you people to please go and read newspapers because it will not only gain vocabulary skills, but also your reading ability will improve. At the same time, listen to me, your understanding of the society will definitely improve. You will be able to respond in debates. Your overall understanding of the society or what's happening around you will definitely improve. That's very much important. So I suggest you to go and read newspapers every day. You can have a plan for me about nearly about some 30 days in the beginning. Then you can extend it to 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. You can have a notebook. I ask everybody to keep a notebook for yourself. Take down or jot down the important vocabulary that you learn every day, and then you can share it with your friend. This could be a beautiful practice, better than book.
So thank you, sir. The next question, they've asked you which accent, in your opinion, is the best one, sir?
Since I worked in call center, I was technical support executive. I was following, or I'm still following US accent, United States, because it's so sexy and cool. And in fact, most of people in India, they follow the received pronunciation, which is actually British, which even a layman can understand. But I love personally the American accent. I love it, and because you can easily get through even IELTS and TOEFL.
So there's a question from a faculty. Will
Yes,
watching
ma'am.
English movies improve our vocabulary? And she has also asked, what is the difference between watching movies and reading books? We are connected in both the genres. Which will be more useful?
Okay. When it comes to watching movies, okay, when I was a student, I used to watch movies because there is one subject called film studies for which was come, because every afternoon we used to watch movies. And when I was watching it, like my purpose, see, your purpose is very important. Why are you actually going to watch a movie? Okay, is it for just entertainment, or is there any purpose or intention to only learn the vocabulary alone in the movie? No, because you should not be distracted. When you watch movies, when you become emotional, you get connected to the movie. In that process, you may not be learning the vocabulary. You understand? Okay, yes. So there is one possibility. At the same time, even colloquial conversations, questions, and the questioning ability can really be improved when it comes to watching movies. But if you read, books, you cannot have any colloquial conversations or dialogue. It will just say that it will go, which is, it can be where your vocabulary can really be improved. You will learn the context, and you will be exposed to more of cultures, and the practices followed by somebody else in other country. That's a possibility when you read books. Definitely.
Yes, so thank you. We have a last question.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's from Shriya Shri. Sir, can we use these types of pronunciation to the people who don't follow it?
No problem. They can still follow. I mean, they can still understand it. No problem. You don't have to have more of American. No problem. You cannot become an American because you're not a native speaker of English. Okay. What you can do is to follow the rules that I taught you now in this webinar. You can start utilizing it, using it. That's more than enough. They will be able to understand. See, dear friends, when I speak, English, the kind of pronunciation that I have at present, people do understand it. They find it absolutely, easy for them to understand. No problem, you can do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You can do it. People will appreciate you, and you will look different. People will love you. They will give you more of appreciations. That's possible.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sankita ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for answering our participants' queries. We have come now at the end of our webinar. I invite Ms. Evangeline Nightingale ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Raji ma'am. Thank you. Dr. Sundar Singh sir, before giving my vote of thanks, I would just like to give my response to the lecture given by you, sir. All along, sir, is my voice audible? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, 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 yes.
Yes. Okay. So all along you were talking about the importance of reading and how essential it is in our day-to-day life in order to see oneself as a complete man or complete woman. Yeah, and I think we are also familiar with this person called Shashi Tharoor. He's not only a writer but a controversial figure even in politics. And in order to know about his life, it is not necessary for me to go personally meet him, sit with him, and hear his stories. I can just do this. Like I can just directly go and pick up the book that he has written, that is Riot. I can read it. So I will come to know about the truth about his life. So, in order to know the truth and to see oneself as a complete man or complete woman, reading helps a lot. So I'm very, very happy that you have touched upon this topic of reading and the skills associated with it. Thank you very much, sir. It was really a wonderful session. And now I would like to give my vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank the management and the principal, though they are not here, and VP ma'am for giving us the opportunity to conduct this webinar, which we have been planning for so long in the midst of the pandemic. And secondly, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the guest speaker for readily accepting our invitation to give a lecture on reading skills and how to develop the habit of reading in our day-to-day life. And many thanks to my Department of English Self-Support for their arduous and relentless support, without whom the webinar wouldn't have been possible at all. And I should admit that my Department of English, it always stands tall when it comes to teamwork. And special thanks to Ms. Sangeeta and Ms. Sivaranjani ma'am for their technical support and the support extended by the self-support team, Ms. Ajita ma'am and Chitra ma'am. So finally, my biggest thanks to the audience for being the patient listeners throughout the program. And I hope the students have benefited a lot from this webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the organizers. Thank the organizers. I want to thank the students also, who I think would have found it a bit interesting and useful to them. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your undivided attention too. Yeah.
Thank you,
God bless
sir.
you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All for your
Thank you,
participation.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
We hope you all have learned and enjoyed this presentation. Thank you. Thank you all.